This is America Daily, bringing you the best in truthful news updates and in-depth reports happening now.
The reason we have so many children raping children, and by the way, I haven't even talked about the teachers who are raping children, and the doctors and the lawyers and the professors, the reason that's going on is because we have been inundated, brainwashed, as MK Ultra did. This is an MK Ultra aspect, which continued and has never stopped, and it's down to the kindergarten.
Hello and welcome to America Daily. I'm Jessica Beatty. Pornography is everywhere these days. Even small children playing on smartphones can accidentally find it. And this is causing problems. Children mimic what they see, and child-on-child rape is up. It affects adults too. Many porn addicts seek more and more extreme content, sometimes leading to content with children in it. Child pornography and sex trafficking is especially rampant here in the United States. And the Jeffrey Epstein case has given us a peek into just how prevalent it is, even among the elites in our society. But how did we get to this point? What caused it? A lot of this can be traced back to the father of America's sexual revolution himself, Alfred Kinsey. The Kinsey Reports were based on fraudulent data and child abuse. He opened the gates for the porn industry, and his work has even impacted our laws. Today we continue with the second half of our interview with Dr. Judith Reisman. Dr. Reisman is a professor of psychology at Liberty University and the director of the Reisman Institute. She's written numerous books about Kinsey's fraudulent science and its consequences. She's also an international expert witness on human sexuality. Today we'll discuss the disturbing trends in K-12 sex education, how elites in society have tried to cover up the truth about Kinsey's research, and what parents can do to protect their children. Yesterday, we ended on a discussion about Dr. Reisman's chapter in Kinsey, Crimes and Consequences, about how his reports directly impacted our laws. Here's where we left off.
Oh my goodness. That chapter is in many ways the most important. You get Kinsey's methodology and the fact that he was torturing children, a 2-month-old baby in one table 30, I think it was table 30. And then table 34, his team was torturing around the clock a 4-year-old around the clock, 24 hours, to get what they called 26 orgasms. A baby, a 5-month-old baby. What did they mean by an orgasm? And so then I looked up what Kinsey said he meant. I couldn't believe it. And he described the children, all of them under 12. These were all boys, by the way. He preferred boys. I mean, he was a pederast, not a pedophile. But yeah, he described 196 children under 12. Especially he said amongst the younger children were screaming and crying and having convulsions. And those are his words. And these children were fainting and they were striking what he called the partner, that is the man who was raping them. But, he was changing the language. We're used to that now. The language is being changed. So this man who was raping this child, he said the child was striking him to get away. But Kinsey said, don't worry about that, because his conclusion was the children definitely enjoyed the experience. Yes, that's what he said. The children definitely enjoyed the experience. Well, when I read that, in his book, and I saw those charts and graphs, in his book, I said, this guy is a sadomasochistic pedophile. Or at the time I said pedophile, but really pederast. Yeah, he's a sadomasochist. Who would say a child who has convulsions, who is fainting, is having an orgasm? Only a sadomasochistic person, only someone who experienced sexuality in such violent ways would conclude that that was pleasure. And then on top of that, pinning that on babies and on children. So yes, I keep trying to get folks to pay attention, and you should tell them certainly to go to the petition that we have on the web, which is stopthekinseyinstitute.org, stopthekinseyinstitute.org. Also go to my website, and sign that petition. We were at 35,000. We need to get about 200,000 people, and then maybe we'll get some action some congressional action, even from the Democrats.
Yeah, we'll definitely add a link to that petition in the description. So one of the most troubling things to me is that Kinsey has had a huge impact on today's sex education and sex educators, especially in light of what he was willing to do for his so-called research, which was basically torturing children. And an example of one sex education book that's in many school libraries today, is It's Perfectly Normal. Let's hear a clip of what the American Life League had to say about this book.
I'm Michael Hitchborn, and you're watching the American Life League Report. It's found in adult bookstores, video rentals, and sealed in black plastic bags. But the last place parents would expect to find pornography is in the hands of their 10-year-old child. Endorsed by Planned Parenthood, the book It's Perfectly Normal has a label on its front cover stating that it is for ages 10 and up. However, a Washington state jail recently rejected a fundraising letter featuring censored illustrations from the book because they are obscene or sexually explicit material as defined by policy. The content rejected by the prison was described by Planned Parenthood Vice President Michael McGee as delightful, while calling the book itself a boon for kids, their parents, and their teachers. The question is, if these images are too obscene for adult prisoners, why are they good for 10-year-old children? It's Perfectly Normal by Roby Harris has entire chapters devoted to sexual intercourse, contraception, masturbation, homosexuality, and abortion. Nowhere does the book describe the virtue of chastity, and in fact on page 48, Harris attacks the religious belief that masturbation is morally wrong by saying, some religions claim that masturbation is a sin, but masturbation cannot hurt you. She then provides illustrations of a young boy and a young girl masturbating with an accompanying how-to explanation. While the book is not a publication of Planned Parenthood, it is intimately connected with the nation's largest abortion chain. The author was on Planned Parenthood's National Board of Advocates, and at least 7 other members of Planned Parenthood were involved in the creation of the book. In addition to being endorsed on Planned Parenthood Federation of America's website, free copies of the book are distributed to children in grades 7 through 9 at their annual sex party in Waco, Texas. In several states, the contents of It's Perfectly Normal fall directly under the definition of pornography, and in some cases, child pornography. As Joanne Karkos of Lewiston, Maine recently said, after refusing to return the book to a public library, hopefully this will harness enough people to be sufficiently horrified and want to speak out, to say that it's gone too far. Indeed, Planned Parenthood has gone too far and should be charged with the distribution of pornography to minors.
So, Dr. Reisman, could you explain a little more about what impact Kinsey has had on K-12 sex education in schools today?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things you don't know, people do not know, because we discovered this in our research of the model penal code, right, was that at a certain point, there was an obscenity exemption made. Now, for all schools, colleges, and so on, and libraries. Now, obscenity today is still against the law. It is against the law. Pornography is legal. Don't ask me to go into the difference, because really that's the fault of the Supreme Court. They are often in no man's land with these definitions. But anyway, so obscenity is against the law, but there is an exemption for schools. Okay, so that means that you can show any kind of pornographic material, obscene material, anything that you want to show, any people that you want to come into the classroom, K through 12 through PhD, anybody coming in and wants to say, oh, it's really great. Homosexual sodomy is wonderful. These are said. I mean, this is done, and you can use condoms, and you won't get this. Well, of course, no condom was ever approved for anything except, no FDA approval for any kind of sex except a male-female conjugal. Not conjugal, but male-female relationships. It was never approved for anything in any other parts of the body, shall we say. The FDA never approved any condom for that. So there ought to be lawsuits up the wazoo. I've written about that, homosexuals should be suing like crazy because they've been told for years that their activity was covered to a great extent if you're just careful. No, it was never covered because it was never approved. So all of the kinds of dysfunctions that we see our children are engaged in. Look, we had 13,000. The AP had to finally do this because our government has not initiated anything since we were killed in 1984. Our research was killed. No government agency has, with any consistency at all, once or twice they've done a few, research a few things, but they have never done the research that needed to be done on that kind of trafficking, this kind of adult, capturing of children. Well, and we had 13,000 children who sexually assaulted by sodomy, oral sodomy, general sodomy, assaulted by objects, fondling, AP did the research in 1 year in the school systems. Children were sexually assaulting children, doing these rape and sodomy, 13,000 children. 13,000 have reported that. There have been there's documentation on 13,000 in 1 year. So what does that tell you? They have sex education up the wazoo. Yeah, and 40% of children say that they were encouraged. They felt encouraged to have sex after sex education. Well, yes, of course they did. So this has been going on at first. They've all been trained by only sex educators, except for strict abstinence educators. There are a few of those. There's abstinence education. But all sex educators have been trained through the Kinsey Institute, through the Institute's Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. That's all in my book. And they have learned that the only way to prevent, bad things is by going into great detail and describing how to do it. So the sex educators have been doing that. They've been doing that through the SAR, the Sexual Attitude Restructuring, which is what they call it the FUCK-orama. They're educated through pornography. 3 major agencies that originally did that was New York University of Pennsylvania, and the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality. That's what's happened to you people, except that nobody knows it. You better read my stuff and, you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, I've seen the It's Perfectly Normal textbook, and it's basically cartoon pornography. I mean, it says it's for ages 10 and up, but it made me, as an adult, very uncomfortable.
Well, it should. It shows the children how to masturbate. So, it really, there are pictures there. Yeah. And the FBI defines grooming pedophile grooming, pederast grooming as lowering the children's resistance to sexual images, right? Lowering their resistance to the very things that are being done in our classrooms, K now through 12. Yeah. And, they lowering, come on, it's perfectly normal. The kids are all standing there naked as can be. So children should be naked? No, this is not just, we're not living in paradise lost where children should, can run around. Children can't even run around in the beach anymore naked because too many people are taking pictures and using them for their own personal sexual satisfaction. It can't be done.
Coming up next, how big media companies are involved. Welcome back. We're here with Dr. Judith Reisman. She's written numerous books about Alfred Kinsey's fraudulent sex science and its impact on our society today, including on sex education and pornography. So we have a huge child sex trafficking problem here in the United States. And we kind of touched on the Jeffrey Epstein case earlier, and that's really shown us how the elites in our society are involved in these child trafficking rings, and they go to great depths to help cover it up. And even recently with the Project Veritas ABC Hot Mic video, we saw that ABC sat on that story for 3 years. And then we see that top people at Disney have been arrested for child abuse.
Well, Disney is very involved. Very involved. There's another website that I did a piece for them on Disney. You could look it up by typing in my name on Disney. Because they have Disney characters. They have the Elsa character. They have all these characters on there dressed up like these people, and they sexually assault each other. They do horrible things that I can't even begin to describe on this program. And parents don't know when they turn on this website that their children are going to be seeing this kind of stuff. Now, what do you think happens when little Johnny or little Janie sees this and they go in the next room and there's their little sister or their little brother? Yeah. And they're being taught that you should peek in there and you should open this up and you can look inside their body and you can do everything. What do you think is happening between sisters and brothers or cousins or next door neighbors? Of course, that's what they do because children imitate, they mimic, they do what they're supposed to do. And unless they are warned, unless they are protected, there is no protection.
So were you surprised at all by the Jeffrey Epstein stuff?
Oh, no. By his suicide, you think? Not at all. Not one bit. I started to check back in 1984. Who would we have caught if we had been allowed to do our research in 1984? The list is enormous from the standpoint of legislators, of politically powerful people, even just that. Yeah. So in terms of the universities, if we were able to continue our research, come on. In 1984, we would have caught Gary Studs. Come on. We would have caught, I forget all the rest of them, and Mitchell, George Mitchell. Oh my goodness. So yeah, they killed our research, but they've killed anything that would have tracked since. Yeah. The reason we have so many children raping children, and by the way, I haven't even talked about the teachers who are raping children, and the doctors and the lawyers and the professors. Yeah. The reason that's going on is because we have been inundated, brainwashed, as MK Ultra did. This is an MK Ultra aspect, which continued and has never stopped, and it's down to the kindergarten.
So, is there anything parents can do to protect their children from all this?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, they certainly have to read my books, but go to that website, which I don't remember the name of. So just type in Elsa and Reisman, right? And examining YouTube, and you should get it. There's that website, because that one is very important. Yeah, certainly sign our petition. Join with us, do a collection thing so that we can reinstate the examination of the Kinsey research at a congressional level. And you're going to have to vote for Trump, because nothing is going to, this will never stop if there's a Democratic complete Democratic takeover. We've got to think about the kids. That's got to be the important thing. Yeah, send letters to Trump and to all his people saying, look, this is where it's at. We are training our children at the tiniest level to sexually assault one another, to have absolutely no values. No, forget Judeo-Christian values. They will be enslaved. They become slaves to the pharmaceutical companies, to the cut and paste, to everything for forever and forever. We've got to get the presidential effort, launched to try to protect our children, and they have got to launch it.
Sorry if this is a stupid question, but why do you say that the Democrats won't do anything?
Well, they haven't. We had nothing done. Actually, we had very little done under the Republicans either, but we did have some luck under Reagan. We had some effort. Yeah, the Democrats don't seem to be pushing anything about the children at all. Pornography, not at all. Oh yeah, understand, the pornographers are paying off. Their lobbyists are paying off all these people right and left. There's a book out called The Powerhouse, which goes into the activity of pornography lobbyists behind the scenes. Oh, you should please note the Media Coalition, which is a Democrat, group, was paid $50,000 to $75,000 a month to get rid of me. That was pretty interesting when we were trying to do the research. And I would say if we have any chance at all, it's with a continuation of Republican takeover, but only where people will demand that the investigation be conducted of all these Epstein people that he was connected with. And it's got to be a focus on the children. It's got to be a focus on the children, a sex education, all this. It's not sex education, it's sex indoctrination. So there's got to be a huge effort by the public to demand that Trump start paying attention, and all of the Republicans start paying attention directly to what was done to our children via the Kinsey research. That's one of the only answers that I know of.
Have you noticed under the Trump administration whether they've made more arrests than normal?
Oh yes, absolutely. Under the Trump I'm embarrassed to say I haven't made that point. Under the Trump administration, there have been thousands of people who have been picked up, and fairly prominent people, not the highest. Now, the Pentagon had 5,200 people way back in 4 or 5 years ago who were downloading child pornography. That has not been investigated, really. So that's got to be checked into. We have to say, look, We want to know who those 5,200 guys were. We want to know what happened to them. These are things that Trump administration could do, and frankly, they have been doing. There's no question they've been doing an enormously better job than anybody has before them. So they've got to prove it. Get in there and start really getting all these people and start shutting down the sex education as it stands, because it's all fraudulent, based on fraud. It's all based on criminal activity. You can do that. You can do that. So go to my website, go to stopthekinseyinstitute.org. Let's get moving on this.
Where can people go to find out more about your work?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we've got two. One is Dr. Judith, Judith, Reisman, Reisman.org or .com. Try them both. I don't know. I never remember which is which. And the other one, which is a really nice one, which also has all the videos, not all of them, but a lot of them, is the ReismanInstitute.org and .com. That's TheReisman Institute.org.
Well, Dr. Reisman, thank you so much for your work and for continuing to expose all this. Without you, I don't know, maybe people would have picked it up, but I think you've played such an important role.
Yeah, well, it should have been picked up by a lot of people. I should have been allowed to continue my research at the university, because when you do that, you get all these grad students and they would continue it, you see. But that was one of the reasons they stopped me. Yeah. Well, I'm at Liberty University right now, so send in your thanks to Liberty University for having me, for letting me stay with them. I was in the law school. Now I'm in the behavioral science school in psychology, and I'm lecturing. And so, yeah, they've been great. Tell them thank you. Oh, I should add, I don't want to forget. Dr. Jerry Falwell is the one who saved my research from being killed completely. He brought me to Liberty University in 1986 or something. And we put my research back together. It had been destroyed. So yeah, we owe Dr. Falwell an enormous debt of gratitude. And he said, I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but now I can tell everybody.
Once again, if you'd like to learn more about Dr. Reisman's work, you can visit her website at drjudithreisman.com. You can also check out the ReismanInstitute.org. We'll put links in the description. You can find part 1 of this interview on our website at americadaily.com. Once again, I'm Jessica Beatty. Thanks for listening to America Daily. Until next time.
This is America Daily, bringing you the best in truthful news updates and in-depth reports happening now.